My name is Lloyd Thaxton.
So what?
For those of you tuning into Relics and Rarities, Jai G here filling in for Dave the Rave just a little bit. It's going to be late. He's at the Rutgers Ohio State game, so he went to that game, so he's going to be late. So he was looking for somebody to fill in for a little bit. So JohnnyGs here going to be featuring some 60s. So want to welcome you to the January 14th, 2018 Ashley Johnny G Vinyltreasure show, just filling in a little bit for Dave the Rave. So stick around. Should be in around somewhere between 10 and 10:30, so he's going to call me on his way. So Relics and Rarities will soon be coming. So I got some 60s records. Not only do I do the 50s and early 60s edition here on Top Shelf Oldies, I do a special 60s show the last Saturday of every month. So it's records out of my collection. I'm a pure record collector, and a lot of my peers, they know it, and been collecting for a number of years since the early 70s. So I graduated high school in 76, so I'm from the disco era, but you're not going to hear any disco tonight. We opened up tonight's with a theme song. Some of you may know this tune, to the Lloyd Thaxton Show, a very similar show to American Bandstand, featuring local high school students dancing on the soundstage to the latest 45s, mostly unscripted and spontaneous. And he would say, "My name is Lloyd Thaxton," that you heard on that 45, and the kids would say, "So what?" So that was a single from June of 1963, and was on the Capitol label. My name is Lloyd Thaxton, and his show started back in 61. I've never seen it, but I understand it was a cool show on KCOP out in LA. Went into syndication in late 64, and he was also the founder of Tiger Beat magazine in 65, and hosted a game show in 68 called Funny You Should Ask. And I think even your very own Dave the Rave, he interviewed Lloyd Thaxton as a guest on his Relics and Rarities show a number of years ago before he passed away. And this one charted number 28 on KIDO out of Boise, Idaho, believe it or not. Tune co-written and produced by Gary Usher. But unfortunately, Lloyd, he passed away October 5th, 2008 from multiple myeloma. Unfortunate, but JohnnyGs here. We fill in for Dave the Rave, so stay tuned for Dave coming shortly. So let's play some 60s stuff, and we open up here the vocal portion with a group from Dallas, Texas. It's on Willie Big Bo Thomas's Gay Shell label. Now, Willie Thomas, he was known as Big Bo, and he had a group called Big Bo and the Arrows. So backing this singer up, he goes by the name of Fred Lowry. This one was eventually picked up by Atco Records in August of '66. I'm featuring it on the original Gay Shell label. It's from July '66. It's Fred Lowry with a tune called I'm Sorry. That's a cool tune there from July 1966. It's Fred Lowry along with Big Bo and the Arrows, featured it on the original label Gay Shell Records there. Picked up by Atco a month later in August of '66. A tune called I'm Sorry, and I'm sorry if you're not hearing Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities, but he will be arriving. He'll be a little late. He's at the basketball game, so filling in till about 10:30. So let's continue here. If you like this 60s sound, I do a show the last Saturday of every month. You can go to my Johnny G Vinyl Treasures page on YouTube. You can find those 60s shows there. You'll see the original records that I play on my two Newmark turntables. But normally I'm the 50s guy here on the Vinyl Treasures show. But let's continue here for this next group out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's on Dave Chackler's Philtown label, and they were known as the Globeliders. Now, their debut single came out on the Van Dyke label sometime in, 62 or 63. It was called If I Were King, a good group harmony record. But they would have another release on Guidon, and finally this release on the Philtown label. I'm playing the B-side of the 45. It's from September 66. They're called the Globeliders, and the name of the tune is called The Way You Do.
So many things to see, strange faces calling me, pictures of the world keep passing me by. So I tell myself a lie, say I'm gonna
Philly soul from September 1966 for a group called the Globe Lighters. It's on the Philtown label. There are a couple good Neil Darrow, I think, does a great tune on the Philtown label. But those are the Globe Lighters. That's the B-side of the 45. The Way You Do is the name of the tune. Johnny G here filling in for Dave the Rave till about 10:30. Let's continue here. Used to get lots of these 45s for 25 cents, 10 cents, and dollars, because I was into the early R&B vocal group Harmony when I started collecting. But these dealers would have some of these 45s hanging around very cheap. So I was running labels back then, still just a little bit running labels, and I would pick up something like this next Scepter 45 from 68 for like $1, anywhere between 10 cents to $1. Now this group, they're from Fort Scott, Kansas. They were called the New Survivors. Their initial release came out on the local Canwick label out of Kansas in May of 68, but then it was picked up by Scepter Records. That's the copy I have. Lead singer, his real name is Arthur Antone Thiebet, if I said it right, Jr., who gets writer credit on this 45, but his alias was Tony Tebow. Reminds me of Tim Tebow, but it's Tony Tebow, and he gets mentioned on the label. I'm playing this Scepter 45, which charted number 40 on KLEO in Wichita, Kansas. Let's go to September 1968 for the New Survivors. It's on Scepter, and the song is called, a weird name, it's called The Pickle Protest.
I know that life ain't worth a nickel, walking around with a pickle hanging out of your mouth. Some people get their kicks throwing rocks and bricks, northwest, east and south. That's okay with me if they all disagree, but don't make me lose a beat. 'Cause I wanna keep a dancing, grooving, and a prancing, slapping down my happy feet. They're either out a demonstrating or sitting home or waiting for the world to end. Trying to reach the stars, Jupiter and Mars with a great big grin. That's okay with me if they all disagree, but don't make me lose a beat. 'Cause I wanna keep a dancing, grooving, and a prancing, slapping down my happy feet. The world is full of problems today. It's enough to make you want to run away. But as long as that band is ready to play, I'm okay. And now Red China's got the bomb in their grubby little palm, and the world is shook. But before they drop the bomb on us cats over here, they better read the book. And that's okay with me, let them all disagree, but don't make me lose a beat. 'Cause I wanna keep a dancing, grooving, and a prancing, slapping down my happy feet. Yeah.
Cold ending on that 45. Yes, North Dakota Bob, currently in the Top Shelf Holy Show. That's kind of odd lyrics there. Maybe some sort of protest song there by the New Survivors. Maybe like from a movie. It'd be a cool theme for a movie there. September 1968. I played it on the second press, Scepter Records. Originally came out on Canwick Records. The Pickle Protest with number 40 in Wichita, Kansas on KELO. Now the lead singer there, Tony Tebow, he's still singing today. If you're in Branson, Missouri, you can check him out. He's got a Facebook page too. Check out his Facebook page. It's under Tony Tebow. Johnny G filling in temporarily for Mr. Dave the Rave. He's at his Rutgers basketball game with Ohio State. Should be a good one. Hopefully I'll have good news to tell you. So let's continue with some 60s 45s. Now this next group, they're out of Lexington, Kentucky. They first recorded as The Temptations, but they spelled their name differently. It was spelled like TEMPTASHUNS. And I have a few releases by them. I collected Federal and King, so they have releases on Federal and King. Then they recorded for the Lemco label and they did a cover of a Marvin Gaye song you may know. The first presses of this were released as The Temptations, with that odd spelling, but I guess maybe from pressure from Berry Gordy Jr., maybe because this record started getting some airplay, they changed their name. They switched from The Temptations to The Magnificent Seven. And so the record was repressed as The Magnificent Seven, as the group members, and I have that one that says Magnificent Seven. It's a promo though. My copy's a promo. It features Larry Orr on lead. This one charted number 10 on WLAP out of Lexington, Kentucky. So let's give a listen of this cover of a Marvin Gaye tune. It came out in March of '65. I have it by the Magnificent Seven on Lemco with the Marvin Gaye tune called Stubborn Kind of Fellow.
Here's the one you've been waiting for all night. Stubborn kind of fella.
That was a big record. The big record on WLAP out of Lexington, Kentucky. My copy says the Magnificent Seven. They really were first called the Temptations with that odd spelling. March 1965 release, Stubborn Kind of Fellow. That's the Marvin Gaye tune. It's on the Lemco record label. Johnny G here, filling in temporarily, keeping the seat warm for Mr. Dave the Rave. So stay tuned for Relics and Rarities. We'll continue here with some 60s 45s. I play these records the last Saturday of every month, so if you like these 60s sounds, tune in on the last Saturday. You can also go to my webpage, vinyltreasures.net. You can stream or download the shows there. But if you like 50s and early 60s, I do it 3 Saturdays of the month, and then I play these cool 60s on the last Saturday of the month. So let's continue here. And now on my last 60s show, I featured this group out of Harlem, New York, now that I mainly feature on my 50s show. But on that last 60s show, I played the Solitaires. They have wonderful harmonies if you like the 1950s style on High Weiss's Old Town label. But I played their final release as by the Solitaires when they were known as the Solitaires, because they had one more release, I think in 1965 or late 64 on Roulette as The Chances. But I featured their last single, which came out on MGM. It was called Fool That I Am, and that was the A-side of the 45, a tune written by Neil Diamond, by the way. But we're going to flip the 45 over because I like the B-side too, and it features Milton Love on lead, and this one did chart in somewhere. It charted number 32 on KLIF. If out of Dallas, Texas. This was the number 32 record there. It's from February 64, The Solitaires. This has Milton Love on lead. The song is called Fair Weather Lover. That's from February 1964. Those are the Solitaires. That's their last release as by the Solitaires. Came out on the MGM label, a song called I Need Your Love. Fair Weather Lover. I Need Your Love's the next song. Fair Weather Lover. Milton Love on lead, a great lead of that R&B group, the Solitaires. Do some great tunes I feature on my 50s and early 60s. I'm filling in temporarily for Dave the Rave for his arrival at 10:30. Now, in the past, I first arrived here on Top Shelf Oldies back in 2005, and I would be on, Dave gave up an hour of his show. I would be on from 8 to 10, and then Dave would follow me on Saturday evenings, and Dave moved to Sundays. He wanted me to follow him to Sundays, but I'm really too busy on Sunday nights. I was either watching football or I have my shows, The Walking Dead, other shows that I would watch, so it was very difficult for me, and I have work the next day. But tomorrow I do not have work, although I will be working from home. But I figured with Dave I'd fill in till he comes in around 10:30, so that's why you're hearing Johnny G's Vinyl Treasure Show on a Sunday evening. Now let's continue here for this next group. They're from Chicago, Illinois. They performed at the Democratic National Convention back in 1960. And Carl Davis, who was the A&R director for OK Records at the time, he heard them. He heard their performance, and he brought them to the OK label, and they did some background work for Major Lance, recorded with other artists on the label. They did some background singing, which it eventually led to their own releases, and this is their debut single on the OK record label. It's the first of 5. It features Robert Dubine on lead, or if I said it right, Dubine, yes, I guess. It's from July of 63. They're called the Artistics. They do some great records through the years. I have them on Brunswick too, but they first started out on OK. This is the Artistics on OK. The song is called I Need Your Love. Yes, Warren, I have to agree with you. That definitely is a stone killer if you like that mid-60s soul there, but that's the first release by the Artistics. The Artistics, July 1963. It's on OK Records, the first of 5. I Need Your Love is the name of that one. I have that on styrene. On the OK releases, you like to have those vinyl promos, although they later on became styrene promos, but that one plays really, really nice, and I like to have styrene that plays like that. I'm going to have one on Smash that does not. It's coming up soon. Let's continue here. John G filling in for Dave the Rave till around 10:30 or so. So stay tuned for Mr. Relics and Rarities. And actually, Mr. Relics and Rarities was the one that turned me on to the B-side of this next 45. And on my last 60s show, I played the B-side of this MGM single by this quartet from Asbury Park, New Jersey. And they were called the Broadways. Now, the B-side of their second release, a great tune. It was called You Just Don't Know, that Dave the Rave turned me on to. And I had their first single, but I didn't, way back at the time, it's before 2005, but when I first started listening to Dave the Rave, but You Just Don't Know, a great, great tune. Now, the A-side is good, too. That side charted regionally. This one features Billy Brown on lead. This was number 81 on Billboard, and a big number 2 on WRBC in Troy, New York. I'm going to send this one out to L. Lance, as he likes this tune, and also charted number 13 on WJMO in Cleveland, Ohio. It's from August of 66. They're called the Broadways. It's on MGM. The A-side, it's called Sweet and Heavenly Melody. That's a cool tune on the MGM record banner. Those are the Broadways. Billy Brown on lead for that one, August 1966 release. Sweet and Heavenly Melody is the name of the tune. Billy Brown went on to become the member of the Moments. The Moments on the Stang label. You may know their tune Love on a Two-Way Street. Also member of Ray Goodman and Brown in the early, or 1980 or so, releases on Polydor Records and other labels. John G here filling in temporarily for Mr. Dave the Rave, and Relics and Rarities. He'll be in around 10:30. Let's continue here. And here's a duo originally from Asheville, North Carolina, but they relocated to Fort Worth, Texas, when they began recording, and they were Charles Pickens and Bill Mills, and they recorded as Pick and Bill. Do some really cool tunes. I think on Chare I have them, but I have a Smash 45. This is their third for Smash, a tune written by Bobby Skell. I wonder if Bobby Skell sang this song. But anyway, I told you I played a Styrene earlier on OK that sounded good. This one, not so good. Now, the owner of this record, she wrote her name. She owned this promo copy, Anna Villegas. I have your 45. I paid 5 cents for this record, but I like the tune here. It's from August of '68. It's Pick and Bill. It's on Smash, and the tune is called Moments Like These.
Moments like these we'll cherish forever. For as long as we're together, darling, 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 we'll share our moments like these. Here in your arms, I found heaven at last. And when it's all past, we'll have our moments like these. I never knew love could be so kind. It's been like a passing breeze. Now I found nothing else on my mind. It's moments like these. Oh, so hold me tonight. Let's forget tomorrow. From my dream we can borrow. Darling, 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 to make our moments like these. Moments like these. Moments like these. Darling, 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 darling. Moments like these. Moments like these. Moments like these.
Well, you see, Anna really wore out her 45. You're not supposed to play Styrene records you're not supposed to play them like one after another, the same record over and over again, because the grooves get too hot and it kind of melts the inside of the groove, and it distorts it like that. That's what happens to Styrene 45s. Unfortunately, then if your tone arm is too heavy, they get ruined, and then if they're dirty, you're talking about horrible sound. Unfortunately, she really played that 45 a lot, but I got to find another copy of that one. Will do, but a great tune. I like that type of sound by Pick and Bill, August 1968. Moments Like These. That's their third release on the Smash label, and they have other releases on other labels. I mentioned Chare, Blue Rock, and Bandit, other labels that they do have releases on. Johnny G here, filling in for Dave the Rave temporarily, so stick around. You'll listen to Dave the Rave around 10:30 or so. He's at the basketball game. He'll be arriving. I used to do this a lot for Dave the Rave on Saturday nights when Rutgers used to have their Saturday night basketballs, but I like playing my 60s records. Yes, I do. So let's continue here for this next singer. His real name is Richard Glasser, but he recorded as Dick Glasser and also as Dick Laurie, recorded for a number of different labels throughout the years. And here's one on Liberty. Actually, it's his 5th of 7, tune written by Randy Newman. You know Randy Newman. He had that big hit in the 70s called Short People, but he was also recording for quite a while in the starting in the mid 1960s or so. But he wrote this record. This was a number 2 record, believe it or not, on KBOX in Dallas, Texas. We go back to January 1963 for Dick Laurie on Liberty. Bought this one in the Cherry Door thrift shop for 25 cents. It's Dick Laurie and a tune called I Got Over You. January 1963 there for Dick Laurie. Dick Laurie, a.k.a. Richard Glasser, Dick Glasser, whatever you want to call him. Liberty Records. The 5th of 7 on Liberty, I Got Over You is the name of that one. Unfortunately, we lost Dick Laurie July 10th of 2000. He was only 66 years old. He passed away from lung cancer. Left some cool 45s. That's one of them. JohnnyG here filling in for Dave the Rave, keeping the seat warm. Keeping the seat warm till about 10:30. So let's continue here for this female singer from the Bronx, New York. She was a member of the Janettes. I'm sure you know the tune from 63, Sally Go Round the Roses. She was a member of that group. She also filled in as one of the Peaches. There were different Peaches that sang with Herb Fame as Peaches and Herb, and she was known as, I think she went under a number of different names: Marlene Mack, Marlene Jenkins, and with this 45, she's known as Marlene Mars. It's the first of 2 on the Capitol record label. We stay in that year, 63. We move to February 63 on Capitol for Marlena Mars. Well, I said Marlene, but it's Marlena on this 45. Yes, it is. And the name of the tune is called The Correct Form.
Correct form.
what we learned the very first week. My objective question was, to whom are you true? His objective answer was, only to you. Oh, the correct form of how to act and speak. This is what we learned the very first week.
That's the first of two for Marlena Mars. It's on Capitol Records, February 1963. A tune called The Correct Form. I had George Tompkins here at my home. He was tending to my turntables, and when he watches me on my YouTube, on the Ustream broadcaster, he looks at the records I play, and he says that I do not have the correct form of playing my 45s because I don't back cue my 45s. And I told him I will not back cue the 45s. You don't want to do that to your styrene presses. I played one last night by Billy Woods and the Emeralds, and you hear that in the beginning. That's from the DJs back cueing those records. I know when I hosted a couple shows up to WFUV, Dan Romanello, I said, you're not back cueing that record. Because I brought my rare records up there, and he goes, yes, I am. I said, no, you're not. He wanted to put a nickel on one of my, $1,000 45s. I said, what are you doing? It doesn't need a nickel. Those better be good needles, you see, so you got to be careful, you collectors out there. If you're MP3s, you don't really care, but if you're a record collector, you better record them on your own equipment and bring them to the studio. I'm doing the studio right here up in my attic. John G babbling on as I fill in for Dave the Rave. Let's continue here. Now here's a flip side from my last 60s show that I did at the end of December. I featured a 45 by the Little Beats. It was a cover of a tune originally done by Frankie Valli, The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore. Of course, you may know it by the Walker Brothers, but Frankie Valli did it first. But this Little Beats group, they were from Farmingdale, Long Island. So let's give a listen to the B-side of the 45. It was written by their producer, the producer of this record. His name is Larry Weiss. It features Carol Mann on lead. She spells her name K-A-R-Y-L. Carol Mann. It's on Bob Crew's Dynavoice label. It's a B-side. We go back to June 1968. They're called The Little Beats on Dynavoice. The tune is called The Feeling of Love.
Cloud, baby, all alone, scared of love, like it's not allowed, baby. You occupy your mind with things that aren't true, and you can't see what's right in front of you. The feeling of love, look into my eyes, you're in my heart, baby. You got to meet the feeling of love, deep inside my soul, took away the cold, and the need to be free.
Whoops, JohnnyG here, as I lose my place there. Anyway, I think I said the Little Beats. I'm thinking of the 1950s group, but they're really the Little Bites. The Little Bites there with Carol Mann on lead. That one there from June 1968 on the Dyna Voice label. It's called The Feeling of Love. As we continue here filling in for Dave the Rave till around 10:30, so stay tuned for Relics and Rarities. And this next group, they're out of Chicago, Illinois. They would have an R&B hit back in 1969. Maybe you know the tune came out on the Date label, was number 46 on the R&B charts. It was called Get It From the Bottom, but here is an earlier release by them from June of 1966. It's on Chicago DJ Al Benson's Glow Star label, co-written by the lead singer. His name is Alonzo Wells. This one charted number 13 on KTYM in Inglewood, California. We go to June of 66 for the Steelers, who lost today, by the way. The Steelers on Glow Star Records and their tune called Crying Bitter Tears. I should really send that record out to all. Let's send it out to all the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pittsburgh Steeler fans. I'm sure they're crying bitter tears for losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That one there from June 1966. Those are the Steelers. It's on the Glow Star record label, a song called Crying Bitter Tears. And this one later on came out on the Crash label with a different flip side, by the way. It featured Alonzo Wells on lead. Well, I got a notification from Mr. Dave the Rave. He's on his way home, so he will be on at 10:30, maybe a little bit before 10:30. So stay tuned for my buddy Dave the Rave and his Relics and Rarities show. Will be following. It will coming on shortly. So let's continue with a few more 60s 45s out of JohnnyGs collection. Got another flip side from my last 60s show as I featured the B-side of this 45 as we go back to the Capitol record label. The artist's name was Reuben Wright, and the song was called called Hey Girl, but let's give a listen to the A side of the record. This one charted number 6 on WWRL back in 1966, and it's a song he wrote. His name is Reuben Wright. Reuben Wright. It's from February 66 on Capitol. It's called I'm Walking Out on You.
I'm walking out on you. Why, baby? I'm walking out on you. Why, baby? Walking out on you. No, don't do it. I'm only a fool. Wait a minute, sit down, girl. Girl, what are you trying to do? Girl, don't say we're through, baby. Girl, dry your eyes. What's the matter with you? I'm walking out on you. Don't do it, baby. I'm walking out on you. Wait a minute, baby. Don't do it now. Walking out on you. No. Now wait a minute. I didn't mean no harm at the dance tonight. She was only a friend, yes she was now. And you know something, girl, everybody knows that I go with you, and with you, oh, I don't wanna go to the very end. Girl, what are you trying to do? Girl, don't tell me, baby, no, don't say me through. Girl, dry your eyes, tell me what did I do? No, baby, don't do it, baby. Don't leave me, baby. No. Now wait a minute. I don't want you to believe a word that she might have said. It was such a long time ago, yes it was now. And let me tell you something. You ask me why she looks at me the way she does. I haven't noticed all night long. I've been looking at you. Girl, what are you trying to do? Girl, take it back, baby. Don't say we're through. And girl, don't believe a word. None of it's true. Wait a minute, baby. Don't do it, baby. No. Don't do it, baby. Please now. All right. Yeah. Don't leave me, baby.
February 1966, released there for Reuben Wright. Reuben Wright on the Capitol record label. It's a tune he wrote. It's called I'm Walking Out on You. Johnny G will be walking out on you around 10:30, or either 25 after or so, because Mr. Dave the Rave will be here for his Relics and Rarities show. I have confirmation of that. So stay tuned for Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities. Let's continue here with more 60s 45s out of Johnny G's collection. I used to have a lot of fun going to a lot of the flea markets and finding records like this next one for 10 cents. It's really hard to do now, but you can be lucky sometimes if you can scrounge around for the records. I don't have time anymore, didn't have time for a number of years, so I have to resort to other methods of finding these records now. But this is a cool one as we stay in New York City for this 45 on the Turntable label. The singer goes by the name of George Smith. He had an earlier release on the Laurie label in 1964. This one's from August 65. His name is George Smith, Turntable Records. The tune is called I've Had It.
As I look through my window and I see you at my door, I don't know if I'm ever gonna answer anymore. I don't wanna cry like before. I don't wanna hear your lies. I know the score. I've had it, you can bet. I've had it and I'm through. I tell myself and yet I know that I'll come running right to you. 'Cause as soon as your lips start spreading honey, I'll grow weak. And when your loving arms reach out to hold me, I'll be when your kisses raise me to a mountain peak. In your hands I'll be like putty, too limp to speak. I've had it, I cry out, but what good does it do when I know there's no doubt that I'll come running right to you? I've had it, so I say, I've had it, still you win. You have it all the way, because you know I'll let you in. I've had it, you can bet, but what good does it do?
Sounds like Chuck Jackson, doesn't it? And it sounds like he's singing like "You Better Sit Down, Kids." No, anyway, that's a 10-cent 45. I think it costs a little bit more than that now. George Smith's his name. August 1965, release on the turntable record label I've Had It is the name of the tune, and it has other records. I think Conclave is a label, Mosaic, Bojo's another label he's got some 45s on. Johnny G here filling in for a little bit more time here before Dave the Rave arrives, so stay tuned for Mr. Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities. We continue here. We go to Memphis, Tennessee for this group that formed back in 1958. They first recorded in 1961 on Jack Clemens' Fernwood record label out of Memphis, Tennessee, a song called You and Your Fellow. That's a rare 45 that I have played on my 50s edition of the Vinyltreasure show, but they had a release also in 1962 on the Mid-South label. Then this one followed, that first came out on the Goldwax label in April of 1964. Then it was picked up by ABC Paramount Records, and I'm featuring my ABC Paramount release. This one by the lyrics with the top notes. It says it features Percy Milam on lead. We go back to May 1964, the lyrics with So Hard to Get Along. Those are the lyrics. The lyrics featured it on the ABC Paramount record label. You can also own it on the Gold Wax label. Percy Milam, he's on lead. May 1964, So Hard to Get Along. Yes, that is so much the saying now. Jai G here's spinning 1960s 45s out of my collection as we await Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities coming on momentarily. So let's continue here. For this next singer from Philly, PA, his real name is Robert Murphy, but he also recorded as Bobby Wells, and after a release on the Lawn label as Bob Murphy, he signed with Mercury Records for this release, arranged by Johnny Madera and David White, and it's basically an answer song to Mary Wells' My Guy. This one from May of 64. His name is Bobby Wells. It's on Mercury Records, and the name of the tune is called Your Guy.
Something to say that would tear you away from your guy. I'll loosen up the glue and disassociate you from your guy. I'll take your stamp right from his letter, 'cause on mine it will stick better. And girl, maybe then you'll see that I was meant to be your guy. One thing I can do to make you untrue to your guy.
Your guy.
I'll simply tell the truth and show you the proof that your guy has intentionally broken his word of honor. Someone's got to tell you, and I'm gonna. So girl, you best believe it's true. He's been deceiving you, your guy. It's a matter of opinion what you should say. My opinion is turnabout's fair play. What's good for the gander is good for the goose. Why don't you plan to cut him loose? This well-built man will take your hand from your guy.
Your guy.
This likable face will take the place of your guy. Your guy. Away from your guy. I'm the man today, and I'll take you away from your guy. I'm the man today, and I'll take you away.
Answer tunes here on the fill-in for Dave the Rave, who will be arriving momentarily. That is Bobby Wells' May 1964 release, a song entitled Your Guy. That's on the Mercury record label. He would have other releases, later releases, later in the 60s, the Romer label. And Cool Soul Records on the Romer label. Jai G here, filling in for Dave the Rave, who will be on momentarily here. So let's fit in a few more here. Just got this 45 in the mail. I still don't have all his records on the Congress label. I think I'm missing one, and it's really expensive. Big Northern record. But this next singer started out as the lead for the Fireflies. You know his big 1959 hit, You Were Mine. Of course, his real name is Richard Ziegler, but you know him better as Richie Adams. And he left the group for a solo career somewhere around 1961 or so. Had a bunch of releases on many different labels, Belltone, Imperial, MGM. And here's one on the the Congress label. It's actually the second of 5. I don't think I have 5 by him. I think I have 3 of them, and I must be missing 2 more, but it's the second of 5. It's from October 64. It's Richie Adams on Congress, and the tune is called The King.
Once I held my head up high. Each time I went by, they called me the king, the king, the king of love, love. I felt I could rule the world because you were my girl. Yes, I was the king, the king, the king of love. But lately I can tell by little things you say and do that I am losing you. How I wish I knew a way that I could make you stay here with me. So be my queen and say that you'll share my whole life too. Then I'll be the king, the king, the king of love, love. So be my queen and say that you share my whole life too. Then I'll be the king, the king, the king of love, love. Yes, I'll be the king, the king, the king of love, the king of love. I'll be the king, the king, the king of love, the king of love. I'll be the king, the king, the king of love.
October 64 there for Richie Adams. Richie Adams was previously the lead of the Fireflies. They're solo there on the Congress label. Second of 5, a song entitled The King. JohnnyGs, the king of a Saturday night, coming when you talk about 50s and early 60s rhythm and blues 45s. I'm not the king of the 60s. I have a lot of 60s records, not as knowledgeable in those 60s sounds, but I do have a lot because I run thousands and thousands of labels with the 185,000 45s that I have all over the place. Although I did make this attic look nice and neat. I did so for guests. I could now have guests here on the Vinyltreasure show. So we're going to be extending some invitations soon. Let's continue here as we await Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities. Let's flip over another 45 from an earlier 60s show. The group was from Mount Morris, Michigan, and they were known as the Dimensions. I played the intended B-side of this 45, We're Doing Fine. It was called that. Came out on the Washington Square label. Remember buying this vividly, paying 5 cents for this record at Yonkers Raceway Flea Market in the early 70s. Let's give a listen to the intended A-side before I file it back down in the No Humidity basement. This one from 1967. They're called the Dimensions. It's on Washington Square. The tune is called Treat Me Right.
I'll stay with you the rest of my life if you will only treat me right. Say the things I like to hear, whisper sweet words in my ear, and treat me like a good girl should. Treat me like you said you would. Whisper sweet words in my ear and say the things I like to hear. Gotta take me by the hand, all my problems understand. Always stand by me. This is the way love, it's got to be. Yeah. Treat me like a good girl.
should. Treat me like you said you would. Treat me like a good girl. Treat me right. Like you said you would. Treat me like a good girl. You like to have your love. Treat me like you said you would. Treat me like a good girl. Treat me right.
Yeah, they're called The Dimensions. They're from Mount Morris, Michigan. It's on the Washington Square record label. Some cool records on that label, too, by the way. 1967, The Dimensions with Treat Me Right. Yes, Mike, program note, I'll be filling in for Ramtown Mike on Wednesday. I'm doing a Wednesday show, January 24th. That's a Wednesday night. I have work the next day, but I'll be playing more of these 60s sounds. So if you like these 60s records, tune in Wednesday night. Actually, you should tune in to all the Top Shelf Oldies DJs here, starting at 8 p.m. during the week. Got some cool DJs with a very cool tastes in music, all different types of music. The uncommon oldie, as Hi-Fi Tim says. But I'll be filling in for Ramtown Mike on January 24th. It's a Wednesday night as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Actually in the fill-in for Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities. And on the last 60s show, I featured the A-side of this 45 on the 20th Century Fox label by this group out of Greensburg, Pennsylvania. They were called the Napoleonic Wars. That was the name of the group, and I played the A-side, a cover of the Who's song, I Can't Explain It. Now the flip side's another cover as done by the Rolling Stones, and both sides of the record produced by Jimmy Wisner. Let's go to November of 1966. This is a B-side for the Napoleonic Wars on 20th Century Fox and their rendition of the Rolling Stones tune, The Singer, Not the Song.
Everywhere you walk, I always go. You always give me this faith, you know. Just say so, 'cause you give me that feeling inside that I know I must be right. It's the singer, not the song. It's not the way you're living willingly. Others do it without killing me, giving me that same old feeling inside that I know I must be right. It's the singer, not the song. That I know I must be right. It's the singer, not the song. The same old places and the same old songs. We've been going there for much too long. There's something wrong, and it gives me that feeling inside that I know I must be right. It's the singer, not the song. The singer, not the song. The singer, not the song. The singer, not the song.
She loses his mind. Cover tunes here on the vinyl, as we wait for Dave the Rave and keep on saying vinyl treasures. But anyway, those are the Dimensions. Those are the Dimensions from, no, they're not. They're the Napoleonic Wars is what it is, from November 1966. And the cover of the Rolling Stones tune, The Singer, Not the Song, came out on the 20th Century Fox record label. Let's continue with a couple more here as we await Dave the Rave. And here's a 45 on Bob Shad's Brent label. He also owned the Time label here in New York City, and I was used to finding 45s on this label by artists such as Skip and Flip and Eddie Quinteros and the Chevrons and some instrumentals, Rusty Isabel, a whole lot of things like that. But I would never thought I would find any kind of garage records on the Brent record label, but there are some garage records on this label, and actually even some great soul records on the label too. But this group is out of Burlingham? Wait, did I write it right? Burlingham, California. Is there such a place as Burlingham? Because I typed this, not Charlene. How they end up on Brent Records, I'll never know. But previously, they recorded as the Banshees, and later they recorded as the Kensington Forest. But in between that, they were known as Ariel. And this one's from October 1966 on the Brent label. Give a listen to Ariel and a tune called It Feels Like I'm Crying.
Many times I feel like screaming. Many times I feel like dying. But you lie, and it feels like I'm crying, crying, crying. Never will I show my feelings. Never will I show the reason why she lied, and it feels like I'm crying, crying, crying. Never will I show my feelings. Never will I show the reasons why she lied, and it feels like I'm crying, crying, crying.
There you go. Those are the Ariel. There you go. I used to get, those are records I like to get for 10 cents because that's what I paid for that one. I don't know if that's an expensive one. You're going to have to ask Dave the Rave. He's coming on right now. Anyway, that's October 1966. A group called Ariel. It's on Bob Shad's Brent record label. It Feels Like I'm Crying. And I know those are the New Orleans Saints that are crying, and so are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, that's going to do it for the little fill-in show here for Mr. Dave the Rave, because he's raring and ready to go, and he's going to tell you all about his game, I'm sure. So that's going to do it for Johnny G filling in for Mr. Dave the Rave, and I'll be back next Saturday from 10 to midnight for my 50s and early 60s edition, but I'll be doing the 60s show this coming January 24th for Ramtown Mike. Will be filling in then. And, of course, the last Saturday of the month, we'll be back to all these 60s records. But that's going to do. We're going to play one song here. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to drop the signal, and Mr. Dave the Rave will be right on for that. The closer tonight is from this group out of Syracuse, New York. They recorded as Billy Kid and the Madisons in 1961 on the Madison label, and they had Chuck Roberts as the lead singer, but he left the group, and then the group just remained as the Madisons with a replacement lead singer. He goes by the name of Johnny Whipple, aka Johnny Velvet. They had one release in 64 on the Lawn record label. They followed it up with this release, written and produced by Larry Santos. Larry Santos, of course, I think he was a member of the Tones, and he also was a member of Larry and the Legends. This one charted number 15 on WOLF out of Syracuse, New York. Johnny Whipple's on lead. It's my closer tonight as we make way for my buddy Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities. The closers from January 65, the Madisons on MGM. It's called Looking for True Love. I have my true love. She's waiting for me, so I'm going to go there. So please stay tuned for Dave the Rave and Relics and Rarities following this final single. See you next Saturday, folks. So long.
Don't wanna